before we begin, I'm gonna first change some settings in the rendering area. So first of all, we're gonna change it to cycles and change this to GPU, obviously. And then, so first of all, we're gonna make volumes bias, and then usually people use AGX because apparently it's the best looking one. I'm gonna be using Filmic because there's a few light issues in AGX that I do not know how to fix. Filmic does the best, so I'm just gonna use that. And I'm gonna go with medium high contrast, so you can follow that if you want to. Alright, after that, then head into the view layer properties and enable these settings that I'm enabling right now. We're gonna need these for the lighting settings that we're gonna be doing later. Also, I think this is a little bit too high, so you might wanna change it back down to whatever you're comfortable with. So for me, that would be 16 because I don't have such a laptop. And then if you don't have a Node Wrangler activated in your add-ons, just go turn it on. I already have it on, so yeah, that's all I'll do. So based on your GPU, go to edit and then preferences, go to your system, and then select whichever render device you want to use. These ones are for NVIDIA GPUs, and HIP is for AMD. And then I think this one is for Intel CPUs. So like, yeah, I'm gonna enable HIP because I have an AMD GPU. Alright, so first of all, we just get rid of the cube. Obviously, no one likes that. And then add in a mesh. Alright, so start by adding a plane and then scaling it to whatever size you want it to be. After you're done with that, before we do anything further, I'm gonna extrude. So go into edit mode and go to options and turn this on. Okay, correct face attributes. This is so that we can avoid any texture stretching. Choose any two vertices that you'd like. And go into orthographic view. This is the wrong one. Okay. Extrude like this and extrude again, but this time with a higher slope. Higher angle, I mean. I think this is about enough. Drag it. Okay, yeah. After you're done with that, choose these faces and hit subdivide. Then select these front faces. Subdivide again. I'm gonna do it twice. Also make sure to add smoothness. And then select these faces. We're not gonna be subdividing these faces because our camera is gonna be positioned around here. So subdivide these one more time. I think that's about enough. So after you're done with that, you go into the modifier area and add a displace modifier. Click on new texture and change it to clouds. Shade smooth, and then go back to the modifier area and change the strength. If you go into the texture, you can play with the size and stuff. I think I'm gonna use 0.34. I think that's good enough. It looks like this. Oh wait, I might actually lower my strength a bit. Alright, so after you're done with this, we're now gonna start the material part and how we're gonna turn this into sand. So for this, we're gonna be using a texture on the internet. So yeah, that material is gonna be in the description. Okay, before we go forward, I'm gonna just name this sand. Also the material sand. Okay, and then now add an image texture and duplicate it 3 times. So this, I'm gonna tell them about their use later. Then copy your file path for the 4K version and then open the main color file. So paste it in here, and this is what we're gonna use as the color. Connect this with the base color of the principled BSDF. There we go. So now we add rough, and then for the final one, you plug in, enter the normal, which is this one, normal DX, and then you plug that into the normal of the principled BSDF, and make sure to remove the sRGB and make it non-color, both of them, both the roughness and the normal texture. So now to control the colors, I'm gonna add a hue, saturation, whatever this is called, I guess. And then to control the roughness, we're gonna add a color ramp. To control the normal, we're gonna add a normal map. So, oh my god. Alright, so as you can see, if we change the slider on this, it becomes more or less rough. If you control the black one, you can see how rough or how shiny you want it to be. So for it to look like sand, I think I'm just gonna use the setting. Then put this slider at 0.75. For the normal, this controls the actual roughness of the sand. So as you can see, if I make it 10, it looks really rough. I think a realistic value is 2.25. This is the one I use in my animation, so I'm just gonna go with that. And as for the color of the sand, looks a bit too white, so I increase a few of the values. Yeah, this looks better. That's it for the material part, this sand. And now we're gonna move on to the ocean. Here's just a quick review of all the settings that I have. Now add another plane. This plane is gonna be set up about. Now I'm gonna set up my camera. Alright, so after you add the plane, add an ocean modifier. Oh god, okay, we should scale it down. Alright. Scale. Apply the scale. Okay. So after that, alright, so after you're done doing everything, make sure to apply the scale, because otherwise the material that we're gonna create won't work properly. Go back into the shading tab. Now we're gonna create a new material and name it ocean. I also name this plane. Wait, one more thing before that. Go back to the modifier and turn on foam, and then name the data layer foam. We're gonna need to add this to the material tab later. First of all, delete this, then add a class BSDF. The IOR of water is 1.333. Then add a mix shader. Alright, then connect this to the surface, and then connect this here. Add a attribute, then a color ramp, and finally an emission. Plug them into each other, and then plug the emission node into the mix shader. This part is gonna control the foam, while this is the main class itself. And also name this data part here foam, otherwise it'll just get confused. So yeah, just name this foam. The settings that I use in my animation, I place the white pointer at 0.58 and place the black pointer at 0.09. So sorry, this was 0.009. I place that right there. You can adjust it based on how much foam you want there to be. Just like that. And the black pointer controls the amount of foam. And I think the white pointer just, controls the transparency of the foam. Or like opacity. Sorry, not transparency. That's it for the material part of the ocean. Now, the resolution controls how detailed your ocean will look. So usually you want to keep this at 24 for the render. I'm not gonna increase it in the viewport because my viewport is gonna start lagging the hell out if I do that. So I'm just keep it at 5. If the render times are too high for your PC, then you can set it to 18. I used 18 in my animation. Basically, this render shows, the render resolution shows how many times it gets subdivided. So right now if you put 24, it gets 24 subdivisions, which is around, I think, 3 million vertices. So that's quite a bit. Now I'm gonna add waves. So looks a bit bland right now. Also, if you want to see the ocean flowing, I think a good speed is #frame/24. As you can see, if you hit spacebar, now the ocean animation will actually play out and you can see where it moves. In the settings that I use, I set damping to max and then I turn it at 270 degrees. Let me check. Going the wrong way. Yeah, okay, now it's flowing towards the camera, so that's how you want it to be. Also, make sure to lower the ocean a little so that's like under you, otherwise it'll look a bit weird. Now for the lighting and the scene, we're gonna use a HDRI. So go back into the shading tab and then go into the world over here. Delete this background. Oh my god, that's gonna be in the description, the link for it. So come in here. Add an environment texture node and hit Ctrl T to add the mapping and texture coordinate. I'll plug this into the color and then open this and find the pink sunset 4K, pink sunrise 4K AXR file and then open this here. As you can see, this is how it looks. So now I'm gonna rotate it to make it face the direction of my camera. First, make sure you set your camera properly. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly set it up like this. I recommend you to use the focal length in between 35 to 50. I'm gonna be using 50 in my current render, and also make sure to make the clip end like 100,000 meters. Okay. Now I kind of want this cloud on top to come a bit more downwards, so we're gonna increase the Y rotation. That's a bit too much. And I think that's about it. Alright, so for the strength, I think you should set it to 0.2. You can change this based on how you'd like it, of course. but for me I'm going to be using 0.2. Now the thing is, the lighting looks really bland in here and kind of, it doesn't really look that good. So to fix that, we're going to be adding a volume node, a volume block. It kind of scatters out the light like we see it in real life, like volumetric lighting. So add in a cube and then go back and do polish shading. Okay, just scale it up. Do not apply the scale. I don't think you should apply a scale. Scale up a little more. And just bring it so just like this, so that the camera is just inside the beginning of it. And then since this will be kind of annoying, go into object properties and then go into visibility, go into viewport display, and then change this from texture to wire so we can only see the borders of it. Now go back into the shading tab, change this to object. I'm gonna turn off rendering for now. Open a new material and just call this shading, I guess. I'm just gonna call it that. Delete the principled BSDF and add a volume scatter node. And then connect this to the volume of the material output. Change the density to 0.01 and make whatever this is to 0.9. Then now let's see. I'm gonna change the position of my camera. Increase the height. Bring it right here. We also have to make sure that there's no clipping, just like this over here. So we have to lower the ocean a bit more, so there's absolutely no clipping. I'm gonna set my if you want to make the ocean look big, you just have to change this repeat X and repeat Y. So as you can see, if I go back now, the ocean is really big. And just like that, you can see a huge ocean. Just frame it properly so it looks like an actual ocean. But one reminder is that it's gonna increase the vertices. So like for example, if you add 7 of these, the number of vertices will multiply by 7. Now if you make this both of these 7 to 7 is 49, so you will have 49 times more vertices. So that's why your render times are gonna spike. Okay, so now we need a sun. So for that, we're gonna be using a UV sphere. Bring it up. We're gonna place this very far away. Also, one more thing, go to your view and change your clip end. Go in here and change the clip end to really high number so you can see the entire viewport. Take this sphere, place it really far, increase the scale of course, place a bit higher up. Make sure your camera has the sun in the center so it looks good. Just like that. Now we're also gonna create a new material for this and name this sun. So this isn't gonna actually be our sun, because if we were to use this and give it a really high emission, it would just turn white and lose all of its color. So what we're gonna do instead is add a light, go to light, and then add an actual sun in here, and we're gonna place this right behind the UV sphere that we just added. So place this right here, and then go back and make sure this points straight, actually straight towards the camera, so you need to pull this up. Point this over here at your scene, what is going on? Okay, I don't know what that was about. So it should be pointing at you directly, and if you go hit render, there should be a lot of light coming at you. Yeah, exactly. But there's an issue. A lot of light is blocked by the UV sphere, and now we're gonna go fix that. So go back into shading and go back to the UV sphere. We're gonna delete the principled BSDF and add an emission node. Connect this to the surface. Sorry, wait, not yet. Actually, we're gonna add a mix shader. Plug this into the first area or wherever you want, doesn't matter. And then connect this to the surface. Add a light path node and a transparent BSDF node. Plug this in here. And then plug this in here. Sorry, not in here. Sorry, my bad. Plug this into the factor of the mix shader. Let me move these out of the way. So for the settings I used in my animation, I turned up the strength to 6 and searched up a red sunset color, and I got this color. It looks really nice. So now when we hit render, as you can see, the sun is really bright, but the light isn't blocked by this UV sphere anymore. And so now we're gonna go click on the light and remove this. Click on the light, go to the light setting, and on the color we'll change this to the same color as the UV sphere that we're using. For the settings I used in my animation, I turned the strength to 0.55 and made the exposure minus negative 0.1. Oh god, what am I doing? Yeah, okay. Now for the ocean, I think you should make it repeat on the y-axis 14 times. Let's go back and actually move this out a bit forward. So for the ocean, I think I'm gonna repeat it on the x-axis 14 times to make it much longer. Otherwise, it looks like it does not look like an ocean and does not look like it goes on forever, you know. So you need to create an illusion like that. Just know your render times are gonna increase by a lot. So stuff like this, you can change it yourself. It's entirely up to you. These are the settings that I use in my animation. Also, you're gonna have to place both of these further away. So, sorry, not the ocean, the light and the sun. I mean the UV sphere and the sun. Just place them around here. And then check with your rendering if it is coming here properly. The light is reaching here. So I need to realign the sun. It's not exactly in the middle. So I have to move it a bit to the left, and I'm gonna move it a bit. So there seems to be a lot of clipping, but everything else. I might just turn down the strength of the emission, the world. So let me go ahead and turn it down quick. I'll set 0.15. And as for the layout, I think I'm just going to add more subdivision. And also turn down place group. So to get rid of the clipping problem, I just moved the sand and also moved my camera a little bit. And so basically it now looks like this. So I'm pretty much done now with the scene itself. So now we're gonna go to compositing. So what you should do is just come in here, hit new, and then just add an RGB curve node and put it in between the render layer and group output thing, and just follow this curve, okay? So yeah, that's about all for the entire scene.